Hi, hello. This video is going to be a soft-spoken video about books. I'll have tapping, but it's mostly just going to be chatting with you style, and I'm going to be talking about the trans rights readathon in this video. Side note, I am working against a low battery percentage and a low storage on my phone, as always. I'm actually kind of pissed about it though, because I just recorded half of this video and then my phone was like, no storage, even though my storage tells me I have 2 gigabytes of space left on my phone. Make it make sense. Anyways, ow, hi. I just popped my, oh. I'm talking about the Trans Rights Readathon. If you want to know what that is, it's a bookish challenge. You can find it at Trans Rights Readathon on Instagram. They have like TikTok and Twitter. I don't know the ads for all of those too, but it started last year. It was the first year. It was run by Sim Kern last year, who is an author and creator who made the challenge. It's run by a different group of people this year just because of schedules and things like that, but it runs from March 22nd to March 29th this year. And the whole point of the challenge is to read trans books, uplift trans authors, and raise some money if you can. So the thing is to read books by trans authors or with trans main characters. That second one is kind of a new addition this year, but it's made because so that authors don't feel the need to have to come out to like be included in this challenge. So yeah, the second part of this is it only runs for a week. You can obviously extend that if you want. I extended it to 2 weeks last year for me, and if you don't think you can finish a book in that time, you know, just uplift the other people participating in the challenge and share some trans book recs that you have. Okay, the third part is donating, fundraising. I think you're supposed to do like, you can fundraise in any way you want. Last year I donated $5 per book that I read during this challenge, and I ended up donating $30 to the Trans Health Legal Fund, and then I think in the second week I donated $20 or $30 to Mercury Stardust TikTok fundraiser thing. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I have not made a TBR this year. My brain is not even close to the end of March yet, but I'm still gonna donate money, and yeah. So I'm gonna be recommending you some trans books to read all throughout the year, but also for this challenge if you want to participate at all. Okay, so the first book is Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. Side note, if I'm saying trans author or trans character, I'm using that as an umbrella term, and I might not specify farther because I just didn't have the time to do a whole lot of research before recording this video, or I couldn't find the information online. I just know that some of these authors use a trans umbrella, but I don't know, they might have an identity within that. Okay, so Cemetery Boys, this is by a trans author, and it has a trans main character. I love this book. If you can't tell, I've read this 3 times and I rated it 5 stars every time. It's a YA fantasy, and I think everyone should read it. The second book is The Companion by E.E. Ottoman. This is an adult fiction, if you know what I mean. It's an erotica, but it is by a trans author and all the characters are trans. It's a polyam romance, so there are 2 trans women and 1 trans man character. It's a novella, pretty short, and I read this last year for the Trans Rights Readathon challenge. Loud car went by. Next book is Page Boy by Elliot Page. This is a memoir. If you haven't heard of this, what are you doing? I got this in a giveaway before it came out, and like, I was so excited. All I have to say is, obviously, if you want to read this, read it, but there are a lot of content warnings. They're not in the book, and I don't know them off the top of my head, so I have to look them up, but this book was a lot darker than I was expecting it to be because I don't really follow celebrities' lives, so I had no expectations going into it. Next book is Tell Me How It Ends by Quentin Lee. I love this author. I follow them on Instagram. There's a pretty little map at the beginning. This is a, I think, YA fantasy. It's a yes, the author is non-binary, and there is an Arrow is non-binary side character in this book. yeah, YA fantasy main character has like magic with tarot cards. It's pretty fun. The next book is Saint Juniper's Folly by Alex Crespo. This is a trans author. There aren't any trans characters in the book, but it is amazing. This book is signed. This came out last year and I read it as an ARC for the Trans Rights Readathon, and then I got the book. Yeah, this is a spooky mystery romance. The main romance in the book is a gay MLM romance, but there's also a girl character who has point of views in the book. Yeah, haunted houses, magic, fantasy, spec fic. It's really fun. Next, we have Stars in Your Eyes by Case and Calendar. I love this book. I was singing this book's praises from the rooftops. This book was 5 stars and I really want to reread it soon. None of the characters in the book are trans, but the author is trans. This follows, it's like a celebrity gay romance, but also covers like such great topics about mental health and addiction being in the Hollywood scene, and just I love it so much. Next book, We Deserve Monuments by Jazz Hammonds. This is another book that I have some praises from the rooftop. Again, the author is trans, but there are no trans characters in this book. This follows Avery. It's a YA fiction novel. I wouldn't call it a romance, I guess a contemporary coming of age, but it also deals with generational trauma, being a Black family in the South, and it is just incredible. I love it. This author has another book coming out this year. I'm so excited. Okay, next we have Pet by, I am going to butcher this name, I'm so sorry, I did not look up pronunciation beforehand, but Akwaeke Emezi. This is a trans author. I believe they're gender non-conforming. Yeah, I'm not sure. But the character is a Black trans MC. This book is so hard to describe because I don't know. It's YA, but it's like an alternate reality fantasy, like political book. It's just really good and I think you should read it. It's like an alternate reality where monsters don't exist anymore, but they find a monster and it's good. Okay, last book is A Dark and Hollow Star. This is actually the only one I've talked about that I haven't read. This is by Ashley Shuttleworth. I believe they are a gender fluid author. I don't think there's any, I think there's a trans side character, but I don't think there's trans main characters in this book, but there is a lesbian character, pan, gay, and bi main characters. I've just heard great praises about this. It's a fantasy book. I don't know if it's YA or adult, but it's a fantasy book. Yeah, look at it. It's so pretty. Okay, lastly, if this video just cuts off very abruptly, it's because I ran out of storage, but I wanted to list some other books that I have read and some authors that I recommend that I just don't have the physical books. Robin Jill Margaret / Margaret Scilla. It's an Italian name, I believe. I don't know how to pronounce it. They are a trans author. 2 names that they write under. But the books that I would recommend are In the Care of Magic, which is an adult erotica book, and Tears in the Water, which is a YA sports contemporary book, I'm gonna say. Next we have Most Ardently by Gabe Cole-Novoa. This is a trans author, but the book, it is so good. It's a Pride and Prejudice retelling with a trans main character. I just love this book. I read it in one day. I rated it 5 stars. It was so good. We have The Witch King by H.E. Edgman, a trans indigenous author with a trans main character. This is a YA fantasy. Again, it's a series. I think there's 2 or 3 books. I read them all. I just can't remember. I think there's 3. Great book. Great series. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. It was amazing. And then lastly, we have Sim Kern, excuse me, who was the creator of this challenge. I've read their book Free People's Village, which is a how do I describe? I feel like it's difficult in Pet, or it's similar to Pet in description. Like it's my brain is just like, it's an anarchist, like anti-government, political, finding yourself kind of book. There is some romance, but it's not the main plot of the novel, but it was really good. It was something I'd never really read before, like